talking about a map. And all we were doing is trying to figure out where he wanted to be on the map. Now, where you become really good at this is once you can start talking about the difference between Barbera and Dolcetto. Because maybe he wanted Dolcetto, but then you were able to sell him on why he should have Barbera instead. There is a person in Bloomfield who sells a lot of Barbera. He just really likes the style. So that's kind of one of the things that you gotta want to look at. So, all right. So having said that, let's start talking about our wines here. So first sniff, we're gonna smell 4, 5, and 6. So smell 4, smell 5, and then smell 6. At first glance, is 4 new or old? Yeah, like I said, it's just a first glance. Number 5, is it new or old? So you say 5 is old? 5 is old. And then 6, is it new or old?
Old.
Old. Alright, so we didn't talk about it as much with the whites, and we really could, but we're going to talk about these reds. So I want you to look at the color first. So if you look at the color, can you read the words underneath the paper? Yeah. So that means that it's translucent. Now, is it super translucent, or is it something you have to kind of struggle a little bit to see it?
I feel like it's struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a struggle. It's not super translucent, but it is definitely, you can still read it. So, another thing to kind of look at is as you, so when you tilt your glass, obviously right in the center is going to be the darkest color. As it works its way out, there's going to be somewhat of a variation. So on the rim though, is the rim kind of a water rim, or does it start changing color? So if you have a water rim, that is typically a sign of youth. If you start changing color, if it started turning into almost like a brick or an orange color, that would be a sign of age. So we talked about it being youthful. That means that it's going to be probably the most acidic or most tannic style that it's going to be. So let's smell it. We said that this was New World. If it was New World, that means we smelled fruit first. And of the fruit, what kind of fruit is it? Is it red fruit or is it black fruit? So red fruit. Okay, cherries. What else do you smell? Some strawberries. Okay. So if it's New World, red cherries and strawberries, what would you think that would be? Is there a wine that actually has that style? All right, we'll get back to that, because maybe you don't know that one. So do you smell oak on this? Do you smell cinnamon? Do you smell clove? Do you smell nutmeg? Do you smell vanilla? Where you guys baked a cake before? I baked my first cake about a week ago. Turned out well. Yeah, I was surprised that it was. I ate it all. Well, to me, there's a little bit of like a clovey thing going on in this. Have you ever had anyone smell those clove cigarettes? Sure, yourself. That's what it is. Well, here's the thing too. If any of you guys ever cooked with cinnamon and you put a tablespoon instead of a teaspoon, it actually can be spicy with cinnamon, and it can be a little bit overpowering. So there can be spice sometimes that way, as opposed to it being like pepper spice. It could just be that smell of. So is there an earthy component to this? Do you smell? Have any of you been camping before and you get out of the tent and you can almost smell like the bark of the trees? You can smell almost like the mildew, or not mildew, but the dew on the actual the grass. So it has almost that like forest thing going on. Can you smell maybe mushrooms in this? All of these are tags for this said varietal, just FYI. So if you say strawberries, cherries, you have some kind of oak derivatives, you have forest flora, you have mushrooms. These are all things that are this one varietal, just FYI. But we don't know that yet, so we'll keep going. So let's taste it. So what is the weight? It's light body. So we said light body. We said red and black fruit. We said a little earthy, forest floor mushrooms. What varietal is that? It is Pinot Noir. Yes, it is. So, on our list, how many Pinot Noirs do we have? We have 8. We have 4 California, we have 4 Oregon. So, is this super fruit? Is fruit the first thing you taste, or is there fruit and earth? If there's both, that means it's going to be Oregon. If there's more fruit, that means it's going to be California. So this is Oregon. That means now we have 4 to go. You have 4 wines that we're dealing with. I just want you to start understanding this. This is how the process works.
You said more fruit.
More fruit is Oregon.
More fruit is California.
California, okay.
All right, we're going to skip. We're going to stop at that moment. Now we're going to wine 5. We'll get to the rest of that later.
So much knowledge.
But it's fun, right?
Yes.
It's fun to play games with this.
I like it.
All right, so we're going to look at the color on wine 5. That is what? Is this more translucent than the last one? Sure does, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, does that mean we have Cabernet in our glass? No, absolutely not. Cabernet should be opaque. You should never be able to see through it. Does that mean we have Merlot in the glass? Probably not. There are certain varietals that are going to be translucent. So Pinot Noir, obviously, we just got done tasting. Dolcetto will be. Barbera can be. Sangiovese can be. And then also Nebbiolo can be. Those are really pretty much the only ones that we have on there. So let's smell this. You smell fruit, or you smell earth, or you smell something that's hard to detect. So, it's hard to detect. I know you guys said hold it first. So let's, is there a, so if it's earth, what kind of earth do we smell?
Maybe I actually do smell.
I think earth is correct. Do you smell a little bit like, and now this isn't like fresh?
Like a weed.
Okay. So you know, like fresh asphalt, like if it was just got thrown down right now, it would be that kind of tarry. So this one's not quite that strong, but it does have a little bit of that tar type thing going on. Now there's also a floral component to this. So have any of you smelled like potpourri? Potpourri isn't always the easiest smell to smell, but you kind of get that floral component to it. So to me, this has a little bit of that potpourri thing. It has a little bit of tar going on. There is some, obviously, fruit. These are all adjectives that are going to describe this wine as well. So there also, to me, there seems to be almost like a licorice, like a tart licorice. So it seems like it's an underripe cherry or something like that. And there's also, like, if we were just driving down a road right now and a dirt, or if we were walking down a dirt road and someone just went speeding by and they picked up all that dust, like you almost taste that dust, you don't have any choice, it just kind of happens. To me, there's a little of that dusty quality in this as well. So if you are actually doing something blind tasting, anytime you get that dusty, earthier quality, it always takes me to Italy. So that's also a hint of where we're at. So let's try it.
Yep, I know what it is.
So, is this light body? Is it full body? Is it medium body?
Medium to full.
Medium to full, absolutely. Because if you look at the color, it's pretty light. You taste the texture, and if we talk about that pool analogy, you're probably about waist deep, maybe getting a little bit higher. But there's definitely some tannin to it. I mean, there's a little structure. I mean, it kind of sticks with you. Feels like you got like a mountain climber that's kind of like trying to climb up the back of your throat. Feels like it's just like hanging out. Got like a fur tongue going on or something. Well, and so I want you guys to start thinking about it in those regards, right? Because now, granted, do I want you to say that to a guest? Probably not, but at least that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So you're like, this is a longer finish. It still sticks with you. There is some tannin which actually kind of dries your mouth out. There's earthiness to it. Is that going to go well with your pasta dishes? Most of them. I mean, I wouldn't do it with the seafood probably, but most of the other stuff, yeah, absolutely it would. So what happens if you have tannin and you have protein? This goes back to like biology classes essentially. It's like a proton and a neutron or electron or it's been a while since I was. So actually they essentially just cancel each other out and then you're left with what else is there. So what ends up happening is the proton, or excuse me, the protein actually takes the tannin and just takes the tannin away. So then what you're going to be left with is a little bit more of those flavor of kind of that lighter, brighter fruit. So that's why sometimes the tastiest wines will be like, oh, I don't really care for this. If you actually had a piece of steak with this, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is way better than I thought it was. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially on the bears.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's pick up wine number 6. We're not talking about what it is yet, so. So, can you see through this one?
There is
So you can read some words. I can't read words back there. So I'm saying this is going to be opaque, or at least close to opaque. So, having said that, can that be Pinot Noir? No. Can that be Sangiovese? See, that's where it's kind of crazy. That's a caveat because it could be Brunello, but it's not. It's not going to be that. So let's see the color. Is there? Obviously, we have a really dark purple, right? What is it? Is there a variation on the rim?
Sure.
It still has a water, thin water line.
Very limited.
Do you start seeing any color variation?
I do, yeah.
So with color variation, that means that we could have age. Because now, to your point, there is going to be a touch of water regardless, right? But as you can see, there's a fading color. So because there's a fading color, that means there's going to be age on this wine. So that could also be a hint of what we actually have. We don't have a whole lot of things that have age on it, or bottle age to most of our wines. So what does it smell like? To me, it's kind of hard, but at the same point, there's tons of like blackberries, black cherries, black currants, plums. So you start thinking about those things, they're hard to describe because there isn't a whole lot of scent to. I mean, how do you describe a plum? I love plums, but they're hard to really smell. If you have a really good one, it's just like a peach, it'll just drip down your hand. It's great. If it's underripe, it's kind of harsh and you're like, damn, I wish this was like the one I wanted.
Yeah. I love it, but
Yeah. So is there oak on this? Do you smell any vanilla? Do you smell any cinnamon, nutmeg? Chocolate, absolutely. Very cool. So, I don't know if any of you guys did it. When I was a kid, I went into the cupboard, found some baking cocoa, thought that I could make chocolate milk with that. Stirred it all up, started taking a drink, and you realize what bitter chocolate actually tastes like, right? Then you have dark chocolate, which has a bitterness to it, but it also has a little bit of creaminess. And then obviously you have milk chocolate, which is going to be super creamy and stuff. So if you think about it, all of our wines are going to have some form of that. So once again, it's almost a pendulum. Is this bitter chocolate? No, I don't think so. Is it going to be milk chocolate where it's super gooey? No, it's going to more than likely be a little bit more like dark chocolate.
I know what wine this is, but when I first had smelled it, it reminded me of the chocolate chapsticks I used to get as a kid. Like the smell of That's literally what it takes me back to.
All right, so let's taste this one. Is it light body? Is it medium body? Is it full body? Has a little more weight to it, right? This is probably where you're talking shoulder deep. So if you're shoulder deep, what kind of wine is that more than likely? Cabernet, we have 15 of them, so yeah, more than likely makes sense. I don't know if you guys have found a pattern yet, but we did light, medium, and full for whites. We're doing the same concept with reds. when you're testing people, when you're teaching people, you're never trying to fool somebody. You want to kind of do the proper progression. So here's the thing. Let's say that at this table, they're like, oh yeah, we want to drink wine today. We're going to have a really good time. We want to try different things. Say, perfect. You need to start lightest to fullest. Because if they start with a full body wine, let's do the Amarone first. And then they try a Pinot Noir second, it's going to taste like water. There's not going to be any flavor to that Pinot Noir. So that's why it's kind of good to kind of ask the questions first. Say, hey, you know, are we looking to try different wines? Do you want to kind of go up the scales? I go out with a couple of my friends. We always do kind of like guys night out and Fletcher. We're kind of the table's dream because there'll be 5 of us and we all order a bottle of wine right at the beginning. And
I would go out to eat with you.
yeah, each one of us. So we're like, so number one, we get a lot of attention right out the gate because they're like, sweet, you know, they just bought 5 bottles of wine.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, we want appetizers, and then we do it course by course. But we want glasses, so there's tons of glasses on the table. But so each one will survive a bottle of wine. We'll kind of tell the server outside of it. We'll end up having them put it into the canners, so we don't know what it is, and then we start just seeing whatever came up with, right? So it's fun, right? But at the same point, we also know, kind of stylistically, so what we'd say, if the server didn't have the knowledge, I would talk to the manager and say, hey, look, I want you to do these lightest to fullest. And so far, the places we've been, they've done it in the right order. So they'll bring out the first wine, and we don't know if I'm wine number 1 or wine number 6 or 5. Well, it ends up going into 6 and 7 and 8, but so that's how you end up starting, right? And so you end up tasting them, and you go, okay, well, this is what I think. And what's also neat, though, is that if you have those glasses in front of you, wine number 1 might be your favorite initially, but as you go through the progression, you might be like, it might start falling apart, or maybe it doesn't have that same structure. And you go, you know, I didn't like 6 at first, but now 6 became my favorite. So wine is really one of those things, unlike any other drink that you can have, is that it's conversational. So if, you know, maybe Nicholas bought this bottle of wine just so that he could say, you know, I was at Andiamo, Las Vegas, you know, and so it starts this conversation just because you want to talk about Las Vegas. It had nothing else to do with it. And someone would be like, yeah, when I was in Las Vegas, we ended up having a bottle of Nebbiolo. Oh, cool, when I was in Italy. And so it can like spin the whole globe of things, whereas very rarely does that ever happen with beer or ever happen with spirits. So once again, that's another reason why you should really leave these on the tables, because let's say that it was 2017, because that was the year that Annabelle graduated. So she bought the bottle because it said 2017. And so that might lead into, oh yeah, you know, I chose that because that was the year that I graduated. I finally got over school, you know. There's reasons why people end up doing some of those things. And the other thing is if Nicholas bought the bottle, Jennifer might grab it and say, so what are we drinking? And she looks at the label. She also might take photos of the label. She might put in her Vivino app and say, oh, you know, this is what the rating was on this, you know. So that's why it's so important that you still leave the bottles on the table. All right, so we said that we have a light body wine. We said that it was Oregon, Pinot Noir. Which one are we thinking? We have 4 different choices. So it could either be the Elk Cove, Patricia Green, Archery Summit, or the Rainstorm. So here's the thing, right? So let's look at what we have going on, right? We have $56, we have $62, we have $84, we have $99. So there's a couple questions that I would ask to you. Does this have a little bit more color to it than most Pinots?
Yeah.
So it is a little bit darker than most Pinots, absolutely.
It is archery.
Is there an elegance to this wine?
I think that's the smoothest one today.
So it's smooth, has a little earth, has that kind of forest floral, has some acidity, makes your mouth water a little bit, has that strawberries and cherries that Nicholas was mentioning. What else would you maybe pull from this to determine which wine this would be? So we have a 17, we have a 15, we have a 16, and we have a 15. So, I mean, I will say that it's going to be sometimes hard to detect the difference between a 15 through 17. Although, if you taste them side by side, you could definitely tell. I mean, 17 is going to be far more tannic. So, this isn't, actually not tannic, far more acidic. This isn't quite that high of acidity, so this isn't going to be 17. So, this is not Rainstorm. So, it really isn't the other three. Because it does have a little more color to it, this isn't going to be Elk Cove. So, really now you're down to the two. So, this that we're tasting is the Patricia Green, is the Freedom Hill, Pinot Noir. So, this is one of the few bottles of wine that we actually have on our list where this is a single vineyard. So, as we were talking about before, if we use this location, right? So, what county are we in? Is it Oakland?
No, wait.
Is it Macomb?
It's Ward.
But is that in Macomb? So we'll say it's Macomb, right? So we're in Macomb, then it goes into Warren, then we're at Andiamo location, right? So the same thing's true with this, is that you're in Oregon, then you're in Willamette Valley, and then you're in a single vineyard. So with it being a single vineyard designation, that means that it's just saying, hey, it's going to be this plot of land. And from that, typically you end up getting a little bit more price point, which adds to that. I think it's a beautiful example of what Pinot Noir should be. So who's going to like this? So it's light to medium body, right? So it does have a little bit more weight. It does have a little bit of black fruit in it as well as the red fruit. So you do have the strawberry, you do have the cherries. So if you, and we all know we've had that table where they're like, I like Pinot Noir, I like Cabernet. And now you have to kind of figure out where you're going to take these people. More than likely, it's not going to be Pinot Noir because Pinot Noir is still going to be too light for the person who likes Cabernet. Unless, of course, it's the lady who's saying she likes the Pinot Noir. It's the guy who's going to say it's Cab. He's going to relent to the lady just because that's how it works. So, having said that, if you have something that has a little more structure and style to it, that's where you can maybe say, hey, look, I know that you typically like something that's going to be a little bit fuller, richer, but we do have the Patricia Green. It is going to have a little bit of earth. It is going to have some black and red fruits. So although it's not going to be as tannic and as full as your Cab, this is going to be a bigger style Pinot. So that's how I also want you to talk about it. So you can't, when you say this is a lighter style Cab and this is a fuller style Pinot, they're not going to be on the same level. So please, even like the Andiamo Cabernet, which is the lightest style that we have, still isn't going to be as big as this. Or excuse me, it's going to be bigger than this. Just because by style, that's what's going to happen. So,
You said California and more red fruits.
California is going to be more red. It's going to be more fruit profile. I mean, like in the nose, you're just going to smell fruit and jam and yeah. Whereas, so that's a great question. So if you think about it, and we don't have a Burgundy on our list right now, but you have California, which is going to be very fruit forward, traditionally. Bless you. You have Burgundy, which is going to be very earth driven, and then you have Oregon, which is kind of in between the two of them. So it is going to have some fruit, but it also has some earth. So if you, since we don't have any Burgundies, if someone said, hey, I like Pinot Noirs and I like it from France, say, hey, you know, unfortunately we don't have any French Pinot Noirs, but what I would recommend then would be one of ours from Oregon. It's going to be closer in style to what you like. All right, wine number 2. You said you know what it is. What do we have?
I think it's the Valpolicella Ripasso.
And why are you saying it's a Valpolicella Ripasso?
And I'll say, just because it has very like floral, earthy, forward flavor.
Okay. What also Valpolicella Ripasso is considered to be what? Well,
Isn't it one of the oldest? Like,
it is considered to be the baby Amarone.
oh,
So if you have somebody who likes Amarone but doesn't want to pay for it, the Valpolicella Ripasso is where you say, hey, you know, this is going to be the baby Amarone. They typically have the same varietal, so it has Corvina and Rondinella. Now, has anyone had an Amarone before? Have you ever seen the color on an Amarone? It's going to be pretty opaque and pretty cool. So the Valpolicella rapazo is going to be a little bit more opaque as well. So, having said that, this is not Valpolicella. Anybody else have a
So close.
Does anyone else have a guess? So we did say old world. We looked at it, it's translucent in color. It has some tannin to it, has some structure, has a little bit of acid. Tastes a little bit like, we said it had that kind of tar, had the roses.
I'm gonna go with Chianti Pesto. So, yeah,
Okay, so Chianti, typically, the descriptors for Chianti are going to be sour cherries, orange rind, touch earthy. So this,
So we were mixing Chianti. I thought that the wine is sealed with this.
so it's a great question. When I was younger, when I was working at Grazi, and I'd tell people, oh my gosh, you should have a Chianti, it's the best drink there is, not realizing that Chianti was the region. So Sangiovese is the actual grape varietal of Chianti. So Italy is very confusing. So if you look at our Agave that's on our list, which is our white wine, Cortese is the actual grape varietal. If you look at Barolo Nebbiolo is the actual grape varietal. Barbaresco, Nebbiolo is the grape varietal. So in Italy, they don't list the actual grape varietal on many bottles at all. They just list the region, and you have to kind of know what varietal is in that region. So, so having said that, this is Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is one of those really interesting wines where it is going to be translucent in color. It typically is going to have that kind of earth and roses and tar. They can have a little bit more tannin and structure, because if you look at this, you think it's going to be light like a Pinot Noir. It's going to be easy, fun-loving, and then when you taste it, there's a little bit more grit, there's a little more richness, a little bit fuller. Now, this is just the Vietti. Now the Barolo is considered to be the king of Italian wines. So if you go back to the caste system, so we're talking the 13th century, if I was the king and I was inviting you guys to my castle, we would be drinking Barolo because it was a big occasion. That was the thing to do. So because of that, they always call it the king of Italian wines. Now, Barbaresco is considered to be the queen because it's going to be more elegant. It's going to be typically a little bit softer. It's a little bit more approachable. So, if you have somebody who says, I like Nebbiolo, perfect. You have 3 choices. That makes it really easy. If they say, I like Nebbiolo, you're down to 3 wines, just right out the gate. You went from 81 to 3. Barolo is going to be your biggest. It's going to have the broadest shoulders. It's going to be the richest. You have Barbaresco, which is going to be a little bit more elegant, a little bit softer, a little bit more dainty. Then you have this one, which is the Vietti is considered to be one of the best producers of Nebbiolo. They are about to start doing Grand Crus. Grand Crus are considered to be the best region or the best areas of that. So you have like Grand Cru, Premier Cru, and then village level stuff. So there are going to be 28 Grand Crus of Barolo, and he owns 25 of them. So he's really considered to be one of the guys. So the neat thing is this wine is going to be medium body, but it has some tough structure, it has some weight. It is going to be old world. It would go well with most of your pasta dishes, as long as it didn't have seafood. Once again, it'll go even better with food than just by itself. And our last wine, we said that it was New World. We said that it was Cabernet. We have 15 choices. We said that there was a little bit of bottle age to it, because you can see there was a little bit of variation in color. So, what does that leave us with? What would be, we can look at all 15. Most of them are what? 15, 16, 17s? Yeah. So there's a couple that are not. So Worthy's one, that's what? Worthy is 2012. You have Burgess, which is what? 2013. Snowden, which is 08. interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up. So Silver Oak is something that has American oak. So American oak is going to be that Hawaiian tropic suntan lotion. It has that kind of coconut dill thing going on. Hey, to me, that's one of the best smells in the world because that means you're on the beach and you're more than likely putting it on a lady's back. So that is the best smell around.
It's the best thing.
It is. Do you smell that though? This is not Silver Oak. I'm just so, what do we think this is?
Burgess.
Okay. And why are you going Burgess?
Let's take a guess.
What's the vintage on Burgess?
2014.
I think it's words.
So Napa's the Valley.
Well, so it's a great question. So it says Napa Valley, right? So if it says Napa Valley, that means they can take it anywhere inside of Napa Valley. So that means they can take mountain fruit, valley fruit, any parts in between. If it says Howell Mountain, it means it can only be on the mountain where they're actually getting it. So when it says Napa Valley, which most of our wines actually say, it doesn't really give you that much of a help. Now the one that does help you though is going to be Rutherford. So if you do ask people, do you like it to be a little bit more lush? And you say, hey, this is all going to be valley fruit, so this is the one you're going to get. So this wine is right in the price point that people love to spend money in. Like I said, the thing that I would, so it's interesting, if you actually look at this, right here, if a bottle is stored properly, it should be stored just like this. And unfortunately, in some of your units, yours are stored like this. Which is fine because they just need to show their labels. If you guys haven't been out to Fenton, they have a wine wall. So the wines are actually put in like this, so you can actually see them. But in true storage, it should be stored just like this. And so as you can see, this one has been stored a little bit improperly. Well, not really. So as you can see, all of that stuff right there is sediment. So if you guys have never seen sediment before, that's kind of what it looks like. So the best way to describe sediment, if you're decanting a bottle of wine, if you guys have ever been on a lake and you get to see the storm clouds starting to come in, it's the exact same thing. So as you're decanting a wine, just like this, how many ounces is a bottle? 25 ounces. So in the first 3 ounces, are we going to have to pay attention? No. It's really in like the last 3 ounces that you're going to have to worry about. So as you're decanting though, and as it starts to be less and less wine in the bottle, you're going to start seeing that cloud start coming towards you. And as that cloud starts getting to this point right here, when you start seeing it get to there, that's where you stop. Because all your sediment is going to stay right here in the bottle, and your decanter then is going to have things that are not going to have in the sediment. All right, what time we got?
1 o'clock.
One on the nose?
One's 12.
Good, did all right. We're going to do one last thing. I just want to show you how to open a bottle of wine, and then we'll get out of here. Actually, I take that back. While I get this set up, is there any questions I can answer for you? Because I'll be more than happy to answer your questions you have. Here's the thing, too. Don't think any of the questions are stupid, because all the questions you guys have asked have been really good questions, and they're things that maybe other people were thinking about asking, they just were afraid to ask.
I do have 2 questions, but one is unrelated to wine. But the first one is, I think I've asked this before, but how do you, just because I have a problem with me with wine lips, how do you get this? Like, I get it really bad when I have red wine. But then if I'm drinking like a bottle of wine with my friend, like she doesn't get them, but I don't get why I get it.
Oh, where you like use personal?
Yeah.
Well, number one, everyone has different pHs, and it could also be that maybe like the do you wear lipstick or do you wear?
No.
Maybe I get them bad myself, so
Yeah.
I'm probably the worst person to ask just because I can't wear them.
I was just wondering what causes it.
Maybe
It just stains
If
it.
your lips are dry, to me, when
Yeah.
my lips are dry and I don't put like chapstick down or whatever, I get like that because I have big lips. So I have to have chapstick on, and then I don't get that as much when I drink my red wine. But when I have one of the chapper lips, it's easier to stain it.
Okay. And then the second one, it's about, I was talking to Ed about this at work. He's like, he told me to ask you next time I saw you because he's like, I don't really know. I suck at tables with beer when I have a full tray of like, you know, like if they ask for a chilled glass and you're supposed to pour it for them.
Yep.
Like I suck at,
Being able to do it without.
I can't, because you're supposed to
kind of tilted, and I'm not supposed to set it down, you know, and I always do, because I'm like, I'd rather not than wear it.
Yeah.
But I don't, he said we'll ask, because sometimes some people do it on the tray, and I don't know how to.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Table, right?
so right, there's a couple different ways to do it. So one of them is, so, and we could demonstrate it sometime too, but like you can put the glass on the table and then you can actually pour it. And what you do is when you're pouring the beer, you hit the back wall of the actual glass, and then it'll actually pour it out properly. Now, the caveat to that is if it's a warm glass, you're going to get a lot of foam to it, which can also screw you up. If you know that you have, let's say it's a group of 6 or something like that, what I would recommend is you could actually just bring a larger tray, and then so therefore you can use both of your hands.
Okay.
And do I want you to do it this way? It's not preferred, but at the same point, I'd rather you do that than set your tray down somewhere else, because it's almost like you're decanting a bottle of wine then, because then you literally are making sure that you're not getting quite as much foam, and you have more control, and then you can set that down. So the best answer would be is actually try to see if you can do it first.
Okay.
Secondly, though, just bring a bigger tray, and then you could actually do it that way.
I just pour it really slow when it comes to beer. My dad drank a lot of beer, so I was practice with it. You just pour it really slow on the back of the glass, like he's saying, and you should be fine. And then don't pour it all in there right away.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to come back and pour more in, so you don't bubble it up all the way.
Well, and because really, you are supposed to have some head on your actual beer,
Yeah.
because that's supposed to bring out.
Speed up kind of at the end a little bit.
Yeah. There was another question earlier as well, is, you know, how come I can't smell certain things, or how come I can't taste some of the things that you were talking about? And really, if you think about it, it's just like anything. So your palate and your smells and your senses, they're muscles. And the more you actually work out your muscles, the more that you look like Walt. When you don't actually work out, you look like myself. So my point being is that the muscles that I work out most is actually tasting wines. So because of that, I can maybe pick up different adjectives that maybe you guys aren't thinking of. But the other thing is too is that when you are smelling wines, is I want you to, so like for me personally, one of my absolute favorite smells in the world is burning leaves. Or when you actually, in a restaurant where the chefs will start charring peppers. I love that smell. And they're actually very similar in style.
Yeah.
So start recognizing certain things. What I would recommend too, and granted it's a little bit of an artificial smell, but if you go to Yankee Candle, or if you go to Bath and Body Works, literally I'll smell every single candle, or I'll smell every one of the soaps. And so you can start, so like for the soaps really, that's where you can do more of the, like some of the floral things. You know, I can definitely smell jasmine, I can smell honeysuckle, I can smell rose and violets, but after that I have a real hard time. I guess lilac is another one I could probably pick out. But outside of that, it becomes a little bit harder for me to tell what the difference is in flowers. And then fruits, like I said, in our minds we would know what blackberries smell like, and we know what blueberries and raspberries, but then when you smell them in candles and stuff, you're like, oh wow, you know, all this time I thought that was blackberry and it's really blueberry, or, you know, this is black cherry, or, you know, so like I said, it's a little bit of artificial because it's not completely accurate, but it's going to then help your sensory analysis of going, okay, now I know what that one is. Another thing, I don't know if you guys remember, maybe it was before your time, but there's a thing called Mr. Sketch. You know those?
Yes.
They're old pens that you can smell. As a kid, I loved those things. But they had like licorice, they had mint, they had cinnamon, they had cherry, they had blueberry. So really, buy some of those. I told that to staff members I was working for one time. They ended up buying me some, which was great. Every now and then I'll just sniff them. Because really, licorice, that's another. So it's really neat because I think you get 12 of them maybe, and I think 8 of the scents are things that you can actually smell in wine. So it's pretty cool. All right, so last thing. When we're opening wine, you should have a serviette with you. Really, you should have a serviette with you all the time. This should be part of your uniform. Because really, you should be using it to set down plates. So in this case, you should have it just like this, and when you're setting it down, it should be to the left of your guest. If we were clearing it, you'd be using it from the right. So when we were actually pouring wine, so here's the thing, as you can see, every time that you use a decanter, you should be wiping. So I don't care if Madeline Trufant was in the room right now. Every single time that she poured, she should be wiping. It's just, so everything that I'm trying to teach you guys is all from the Quartermaster Sommeliers. So it's not something I made up. It's not something where I'm like, hey, this is what I want you guys to do for me. the way I look at it is that most of you probably don't want to become master sommeliers. But if a master sommelier was in your restaurant and they said your service was impeccable, that's the best honor we could ever get. So, and here's the thing: in the last 8 months, there've been 5 master sommeliers that I've seen here in Michigan. Because there's more and more of them coming because they keep hearing stories about Detroit. So,
How does it go with the sommelier? Is it like sommelier then master?
so there's introductory, there's certified, there's advanced, and then there's master.
What are you on?
I am a certified, which I'm studying for my advanced. So before, you could only do, there used to only be 3 levels, but there's a huge drastic change between them. So they've also now made it where you have to take a course before you can take the exam to take your advanced. So I've taken the course and now I just have to sit for the exam. The other problem is that, well, and it is a problem, is that you look now, there's all the cooking shows and there's all the, so everyone seems to feel like they can do everything, right? So I got my first level in 2002, and out in Vegas. It was a lot of fun. During Secret of Mile, bad idea, just to let you know. So the neat thing is, though, so there's 150 people in the room, right? And so it's a 2-day thing. So 7:30 in the morning, there's glasses in front of you. You end up blind tasting with 150 people, and they start asking all the same kind of questions that we just asked, and then they just show you what the bottle is. Then they'll do a lecture on Italy, then they'll do a lecture on France, and you go to lunch, you come back, and taste more wine. On doing Spain, you go away, you come back the next day, they do the same kind of process. Go to lunch, when you come back, and you don't take an exam. So once you take the exam, they give everybody something. So like, Taylor passes, and then they give it to me, and I fail. But you have no idea because it's you're kind of looking at your envelope, and then you'd be like, oh yeah. Or you're like, yeah, I passed, you know. So I was fortunate enough to actually have passed, and but number one, I was going to say, all of you guys should just get it. Number one, because you get to it's always a good thing to have on your resume. I think what you're going to end up finding is the more and more, if you go to Chicago, if you go to New York, Las Vegas, if you don't have a certified or entry level, someone won't even talk to you because they don't have to. They can just start. It's like a weeding process of how they want to actually have people. For me personally, I think that all of our GMs should have it, just for the simple fact that it means that you have at least a general knowledge of what wine is. So when I was at MGM2, the president of the company had to take classes because they make it where you have to have your master's exam or your master's degree if you're going to be president of one of the companies. So I don't know. To me, it's one of those that I think you got to continue learning in life. I mean, if you don't, then you're just kind of being stagnant. So, so number one, it's cool for that reason. Number two, it is something. Anytime you have any kind of certification, you just put that on your resume. It's always good. And then number three, it really allows you to say, hey, I'm glad that I got it, but it's not for me. Or like me, it kind of made me hooked. I was in a room with like-minded people. I was in a room with a lot of people who like to drink, which I like to do myself. And they actually are knowledgeable as well. There are people in the room that were smarter than me. And it's like, wow, that's cool. A lot of times, maybe you don't have people like that. So it was a neat way to kind of challenge and push yourself. So I would recommend it. If you go onto the website, they have them everywhere. I believe that they're going to have one. They have one pretty much every year at Roast. It's usually like in October. So now there's obviously cost to it. I'm not saying there isn't. So now, having said that, though, when you think about it, you're like, wow, that's a whole lot of money. But the amount of wines you actually taste, because you'll actually taste wines with them, and the amount of time that they actually spend in trying to educate you, it really is kind of a wash. So, because at first I always thought about that too. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And then I started realizing how much money goes into what they actually do. And it's not like they're making money off it, they're just trying to educate and pay for the stuff that you're actually doing. So, all right. So, having said that, we'll open our bottle of wine here. Actually, okay, let's get the taste. And let's give you a glass of wine. So, I have been fighting with Rosalie for a while. Now, some units, like for instance Bloomfield, Dearborn, they do have gear guns, and Warren has one as well. Everywhere else, you do not have them. And so because of that, you have to open it in the air. To me personally, opening in the air is the hardest way of doing it, whereas if you actually have a gear gun, it's much easier because you have more control. So what I'm going to show you is how to open it in the air. So what is the first thing that we have to do when we're presenting a bottle of wine?
Say that vintage, the producer, the varietal, and the location.
Perfect. Couldn't have said it better. So, if you guys aren't aware, and if it's not posted somewhere on your board, that is exactly the order that you're supposed to do it. So, vintage is number 1, producer is number 2, varietal is number 3, and the region is number 4. Now, not every single bottle is going to have all of those things. Like, for instance, the Macon Village that we were talking about earlier does not say Chardonnay anywhere on the bottle. So, there's no reason for you to say Chardonnay, even though we know what it is. So in that case, you'd say here's your 2016 Pascal Renault Macon Village. So the reason that I also want you to do it in that order, so like for instance on this bottle right here, here's your Andiamo Cabernet from California 2017. Or here's your 2017 Andiamo Cabernet from California. They said the exact same things, it's just one seems disjointed, the other one kind of feels like it's a sentence. So that's why I want you to do it in that order every single time. The other thing is if this is a business meeting, sometimes all they want to see, because they're going to see with their eyes that it was Andiamo what they were asking for, but the first thing that they're going to hear is the vintage, and then after that they'll just kind of nod and say, fine. So if I say, here's your 2016, she's like, oh, wait, it's at 17 on the menu. That's really what they need to hear first, so please make sure that you're doing vintage first. So, as I mentioned that as well, when you're actually presenting this, that's why, number 1, you should have clean nails. But you want to be pointing it out the whole time as well. Because some of our bottles as well, you're going to have to present like this, and all the information is going to be on the back later. So you have to say, here's your 2017 Andiamo Cabernet from California. So that way they can kind of view it as well. If you also have that chance, you should actually be to the right of the host. That's exactly how it's supposed to be. So you can obviously, because you're not going to be able to hold everything in your hand. So you're going to leave the decanter on the table, which is fine. You should actually have the coasters as well. Each one of you, all your units should have the stainless steel coasters. You should also have shot glasses. So unfortunately I don't have one with me, but there would be a shot glass that would be with you. So please make sure that you're listening and you should be bringing your shot glass with you.
We do have the silver tray.
Yeah, we have the
You guys also don't have white falls with you.
We don't have.
So that's probably why you guys don't have white. Okay, everybody else, please. Keep my So, when you are presenting, there's a couple different things you can do. So for me, I'm going to just kind of fold this up because it makes it a little bit easier. So we've already presented the bottle. So the reason that we don't want you to spin the bottle is because if you, let's say there was sediment in this, by doing this, you've just essentially done like a washing machine. And you just stirred everything up. And so that's why you want to hold it in position at all times. So I know a lot of you guys end up doing like this backwards cut like this, and then you do a forwards cut. I really don't care how you guys do it. It's fine with me, however. So for me personally, I use my left hand and I do a half moon. Then I'm going to switch. And then I'm going to do a half moon. And then here's the thing. So for me, I end up using a single hinged blade, but I also, if you look, this is probably twice the size of your double hinged blades. Because your double hinged blades have it's about that big. And so because of that, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to actually peel off the foil. So if you have a cork like mine, or a key like mine, it's really just almost like peeling an apple. So really if you do, you're just kind of getting a rip of that foil, and then you're going to pull that piece off. So that's going to go in your pocket. So you can look at this. There is a little bit of a deviation on that. So if it was one of those things that was really bad, I would then continue to cut it off. If, let's say that sometimes I ripped it and it was like a piece of foil kind of hanging and it was just kind of like dangling, then I want you to just slice the whole thing off and take it off. Because as you guys know, you can get cut by the foil itself. So once we've gotten to this point, we now have to wipe the top. Because there could obviously be foil pieces on there. You don't want to add that to the wine. So some people like to hold it up at the top too, which is fine. I don't really care how you do it. Some like to do like this because they feel like they have more control. That's fine. What I would do is also recommend that you figure out where you want to stop. So for me, I'm left-handed. I want to stop right here because my left hand is going to be my stronger arm. So I'm going to finish right there, and I'm going to pull up. So when you pull up at this point, it should never be a popping noise. It should just be a little bit of a hiss. That's really what it should be. Let's say that you did pop it. At that point, you can just say, I apologize, and you just move forward because there's really nothing else you can do about it. So in a case like that, let's say that you had a coaster or you have shot glasses. This should go in the shot glass and you set it. You always want to set it left side up. And so like a really wise person, as Kayla of course is, as she's sitting here talking with her guest, maybe she's having that conversation, a really good person will go like this, and they go like this, and they set it back down. They first want to see if it's still wet, because it means that it was stored properly. They want to go like this, just because they want to see the consistency of the actual cork, and they set it down. Smelling a cork, all it's going to smell like is cork. It's not going to tell you anything. Now, don't tell that to a guest, because, of course, they think that you'll have some of them that love to put on that show where they just smell it and they do whatever. So don't burst their bubble. If that's their thing, by all means. Now, some people like to actually hold it like this and do their decanting. That's totally fine. All I want you to make sure that you're doing, number one, is take your cloth and put it on your arm. And then number two is that the label needs to be facing the air. Your guys' case is a little bit different because with yours being stored like this, that means that you want to actually decant it that way. Because that means your sediment line is sitting right there. But everybody else's, where it's normal, that means you want to hold the actual label in the air because that means your sediment line is all sitting right here. So when you grab your decanter, there's going to be a little bit of a glugging noise at first. So at this point, I can sit here and talk to you guys because I know that the next 20 ounces, I'm not going to have to worry about at all. At a point, it's going to start to find its own rhythm. You just kind of let it go. Now, at some of your stores, you guys actually have light sources. So a light source, obviously, you can set that on the table. Now, the thing is before you ever set the bottle down, before you do anything, you want to make sure that you're wiping the lip right here. Because that's where you're going to have that drop that's going to go right through. Worse yet, if you've actually poured it wrong, let's say you decant it this way, now you're going to have that drop go right through the label itself. So as you walked away and, Jennifer wants to look at the label, she's like, oh, So you start taking photos and you have a photo of the freaking wine right through the label. So that's why it's really important that you never drop it, you just go like this and you're going to catch that drop. Now, when you pour, we're going to pour just a sample. And really, how much should you be pouring? It should be an ounce or less. It should never be more than that. So yeah, she's going to swirl. And so while she's doing this as well, here's the thing, I don't want to rush her because maybe she is making it out to be a bigger thing than it is, right? And let's say we have those coasters, or maybe she hasn't even, maybe we're pretending like they're still talking, this happens as well. And you might just can't hear it attention like this, you have the glass right in front. So in a case like that, I would maybe set down my coasters, I might set the bottle down in front, I'm doing certain things, but as I stay here for a while, it's going to happen, Jennifer's going to be like, Kayla, taste the wine, Don't be the one that interrupts. Wait until, because eventually what happens is the guests start feeling awkward because they're like, would you just taste the wine? So let that happen. If it truly doesn't happen, then obviously when she does pause for a second, say, I do apologize, will you just taste it? And that way you can actually have it. But don't do that. Like, maybe this is like your sales pitch.
No. What if they don't even know how, they were supposed to do that?
Well, it happens.
And you just move on because you don't want to embarrass or anything else. You don't.
Well, here's the thing though, is that they still, so let's say that you put this down and you say, hey, will you please just taste the wine, I just want to make sure that you like it. So even if they don't know proper etiquette, you still want them to taste it because let's say that they don't like the wine, in that regard that Raimi was mentioning, is at least we've only given away 1 ounce, right? Now we can take this back to the bar, we can have the pouring, we can do something else. If we just poured the sample and she hasn't tasted it, and then we go around the table, and then you guys go, no, we really just don't like this wine. Now we don't have anything left, so that's why you really have to make sure that they're tasting good. So, on this table, where do I pour next?
Ladies
The roll right there.
first.
Ladies first.
Yep. And so the thing is, too, is that you also want to be going clockwise. So it'll be Ramona, and Jennifer, and Joanna, and Nicholas.
Okay.
Then Lynn. Or excuse me,
Okay.
Kayla, you know. So, I have seen some of you guys before. What you'll do is you're going to pour Kayla a taste. As soon as she says yes, then you pour some more. She's not. There's no gender anymore. She is the person who is in charge because she is the one who chose the wine. So she is no longer male, female. She is the host. She is the dog. So you're going to go to everybody else, and then she's going to get the last sip. Okay? So, to make things a little bit more confusing, we are all here because it's Nicholas's birthday. I pour a sample here. Who is the next person that gets the wine? Nicholas. He's the guest of honor. To be even more confusing, we'll say that Walter's sitting down at the table, and of course he's a priest, you can tell. So Kayla gets the first sip. Then who gets the next sip?
The priest.
Priest. Then the guest of honor. Then the ladies. Then Kayla.
Oh.
Now, granted, that does not happen very often. And I think, gosh. Well, here's the thing. It's a great question. Why the priest? When did wine drinking begin? Back when religion was a bigger deal than it is today. Not saying religion isn't, but back then, I mean, if you weren't part of some religious group, I mean, you were ostracized and you weren't real people. You were probably a witch, and they were going to burn you at the stakes or something. So really, the priests were the highest power going around during those periods of time. So they were the most important person. So they would actually get the first one. In the 6 years, I've never had that happen besides when Joe, Rosalie, and their priest come in. So Joe would get the taste, go to the priest, then I pour Rosalie, then I come back.
John, so as a server, if they want us to open the wine for them, I mean, make sure, I think, you guys gotta let us know who ordered the wine and who's going to taste it.
Absolutely.
I mean, what do I
Great point. So, to that point, we'll say this is table one, and we'll say that Kayla's seat one. So, all I really want to hear from you guys, and you could be in passing, you could say, hey, table one, seat one is tasting, I need 5 glasses on the table, bottle 2308. That's the best way you can do it because there's no other white noise. You know, it's the lady who has the checkered shirt on. I'm not sure if everybody's going to be drinking. Like all this extra stuff that I don't need to hear.
Right.
Table one, seat one, 5 glasses, 2308. That's what I need. Because it's easier for me to process too, because I'm listening to the things I actually need to hear, and the more other stuff you put in there, it's harder for me to remember. It's like, okay, I remember table one, and then blah, 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 all this stuff. It's like, okay, what seat number was it? I don't remember at this point, because I had to hear all about the checkered shirt shoes.
So I did go to the table twice, and we were missing like 1 glass. So it's like, you know, you need to know all the information, who's drinking, who's gonna taste it.
Yeah. Perfect question. And here's the other thing too. Now, really good servers, and I mean, I've stressed that for probably 6 years downtown. And so, let's say it's a larger group, and let's say there's a couple people that could be questionable as far as age is concerned. I need to know whether you've carded everybody. Because I know that a lot of times it's questionable. I know you guys aren't carding them, just because you don't want to be the bad guy. You want to make me the bad guy. But I at least need to know that you have or haven't carded them. Do you guys know what the fine is for somebody?
$1,500 isn't that? Right?
$1,500 for the person, the individual. $1,500 for the company. If you get, I think if you get multiples, that they can actually give you a DUI, even though you've done nothing except for one. So yeah, don't make that mistake. So when people say, "Oh my gosh," all of us know this, right? And it always makes me laugh when somebody who's like 22 and you go, "Hey guys, you ready?" You're like, "Oh my god." Yeah. What's going to happen though is when they start getting mad that nobody does card them, because that day comes too. So
Still get carded.
that's a good thing. You should. Why not? Here's the thing. How many of you don't leave your house without your ID? To actually drive your car, you need to have an ID, right? So that's why it's so fake when people are like, "Oh, I don't have it, I forgot it." No, you didn't. You're not old enough.
Get out of here.
So here's the thing though, let's say that somebody is 40 and you card them and they don't have an ID, can you serve them? No. They have to have an ID. So, can they just say, "Hey, let me show you this picture, this is my passport." they actually have a passport with them, that'll work. But you can't use. Now, here's the thing. In time, I think that's going to start changing because I also know that you can use your phone with a passport and get onto a plane. So eventually, it is going to change that way. But until the laws say that we can use that, just do it the right way. You're going to be safe. Now, one question that I don't think I answered for Ravi. If someone says, "What wine do you like?" What do you say? You say, "What wine do you like?"
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah, I mean, so if you truly, and here's the thing, is that in time you're going to start tasting through some different wines, right? And so you tasted 5 or 6 wines today. Maybe you choose one of those. Maybe it's none of them. Maybe you're like, hey, I didn't really care for any of those. But hey, guess what? That means you just marked off 6 of them. That means that maybe the other ones are going to like. Maybe you don't drink wine at all. You decide I don't drink wine for whatever reason. Then maybe you say our most popular is, or you could say, I've had really good success with the guests have really seemed to enjoy this. There's other ways that you can word it, even if you've never tasted them. Now, can you choose the most expensive? Of course. I mean, there's certain people that I know that unfortunately that's their MO. It's like, the Snowden and the Dariouche are my 2 favorite wines. And it's like, okay, there's a $3 difference then. That's not like you're really giving a whole lot to go with. One thing I also want to leave you with, and I want you to think about this, and this is true, during the week, who ends up paying the bills typically? Company. Business companies. During the weekend, it's whoever is out to dinner. So when I was serving, I would do it inversely. So during the week, I would end up saying the most expensive stuff and then work my way down. Because they're not going to be offended because they're going to say, hey, my company only allows us to spend $70 on a bottle of wine. Perfect, then you get to that range. But let's say it's a weekend, I'm going on a first date and, I'm kind of feeling it out, this and that, and you go to them and say, you guys should have the Caymus. Now, if I say no, she's like, I'm not worth having Caymus. If I say yes, now I've already spent more than I probably had budgeted for the whole dinner. So you put me in a really awkward position. So if you actually started low and then you work your way up, so let's say you started low, right? And you said, the silver totem is really nice. I want something maybe a little bit higher, a little bit more. Now you're kind of building everything up because now she's like, he's not buying the cheapest wine for me, cool. And he's also being like, cool, now I can start lifting up the range. So in a case like that too, you might be like, hey, I'm willing to go maybe twice that cost. And now it's also giving you a range. So just by starting in a certain spot, you can also, it's going to help you get to the levels that you're looking at as well. So for what it's worth, and to me, you're going to find that you'll get more people back that way because they don't, if they get burned, they're obviously going to, let's say I have to swallow it, I have to buy the Caymus, I end up having to pay for the rest of it, I end up spending $400. You guys are like, yeah, I have a $400 Caymus. Am I ever coming back there? No, I'm not. I would be so mad because I really wanted to spend $180 and then I wanted to spend money on wherever else I planned on going that night. And now maybe not. But let's say that you started me lower off. And then, so this is a true story, and this is the last thing we'll talk about. But I waited on this couple when I was a server, and last week they came into Joe Muir. They were on their first date when I took care of them the first time. Now they have 3 kids. They have, he's actually doing quite well in the business that he's doing. And so if I was still a server, I would have made really good money on that table. But the simple fact of the matter is back when they started, they were drinking Moscato, and they were doing, and so now it's just neat to see the evolution of what they're actually doing, and how their life has actually turned out. There's another gentleman who I used to take care of, who had a good job, now he's actually the president of Hitachi. I just saw him recently, and when he came in, he's like, wow, I didn't know you were working here. I'm glad to know that we'll start setting our stuff here. They've had 10 parties since in the last 14 months, and each party is at least $2,000. So the point is that you just never know who you're dealing with, but at the same point, if you start kind of figuring out how their things work, so when Derek and his wife came in, because it was their anniversary, then I could say, hey, we're going to talk about, like I said, we're going to talk about more expensive things because A, it's their anniversary, B, I have a little bit of knowledge of what they've drank in the past. If it was just kind of in passing, it would be like, hey, I would choose a couple $50 or $60 bottles that I really like. And you should also choose some of them that you think, hey, I think this is a really good value. Because it could be one of those where if I offered to Kayla the Garnacha, the Ultima Kai, which I actually really like, I don't know how much, $66, I think? $62. So $62 is not that expensive. I mean, that would probably be in the maybe mid to low mid of our range of wines. It's also a region that isn't Italian, it's not California, so it's maybe something a little bit different. So for me personally, I enjoy that one, and that might be the one, hey, this is one I want to show to you. And so the beauty is, though, is the next time you come in, you can say, hey, that was either lighter than I liked, or it was fuller than I liked. But this is also our anniversary, so because of that, I have an idea of where I want to go with it. So that is it. Thank you for coming. The other thing is too is actually one thing I didn't show you any of these slides, which is fine because they're just slides. But I do want to show you the website real quick. In case you haven't been on the site, so obviously there's a scrolling thing. It talks about new wines added. So if you go under new wines added, it has all 17 of the new wines that actually went on the list. You actually click into that spot as well. It starts having what we call the one-pagers. So you go under wine as well. You choose wine list. It's going to be done in order of how our wine list actually sets up. So as you can see down, it has La Marca, it has its own bottles. So let's say it's something you don't know how to say. You click right here.
Arjolas Costa Molino Vermentino.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Argolas, Costa Molino, Vermentini.
Exactly. So the idea is you can go in here, it tells you exactly what the varietal is. So this is 100% Vermentino.
Oh, that's nice.
So it shows you where in Italy. So fruit, it says estate. So just so you know, estate means that you are the grower from the start to the finish. So you actually planted the grapes, you harvested the grapes, you bottled the grapes. So it's yours from start to finish, essentially. We said source. That means that Nicholas made the grapes from start to finish. I ended up buying them, and then I ended up making the wine. Then there's a co-op. Co-op is where everybody in this room has some grapes, but we don't have enough to make what we want. So all of us collectively put them together, and then we end up making a wine, and then we get the proceeds from it. So not that any of them are right or wrong, but to me, if it's estate fruit, that means that you're still a farmer. It's still kind of your passion. That's what your desire and your drive is. If it's sourced, that means that, like for instance, there's one, and it's a decent wine. There's a guy, it's called Smuggler's Son. He's from Michigan. On the actual label, it's the Berkeley Theater front. But he ends up going out there. He spends like 2 weeks. He ends up making a wine. He only makes like 500 cases. So it's a neat story. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's his passion. It just means he wanted to kind of do some side thing. He has another job, and that's just kind of a fun thing he wants to do. And then co-ops, like I said, similar to the estate thing where it's just like, hey, we just don't make enough by ourselves. So like La Marca Prosecco, there are hundreds of growers that kind of throw in together, and then that's how they end up making their product. So if you look on here too, it's going to show you the color. We talked about what least contact is. So on this wine right here, it's going to be done in stainless steel, but it has that least contact, so because of that, it's going to give it a little bit of a creamier style to it. It has citrus and tropical fruits. They have 250 hectares. So 1 hectare is 2.5 acres. So what is that? It's like 800 acres. I mean, that's a big property. But the interesting thing is too is that you start looking at some of these. I was doing one for Joe Muir the other day. There's a wine called Langtree, and the guy has 23,000 acres. So most of them are like 40 acres. So to have that much is just crazy. And then to find out he also owns the Vegas Golden Knights hockey team. He's also the chairman of Fidelity National. I mean, this dude is like uber wealthy, but also a very cool story. I mean, the wine is $65, so he's not trying to gouge people. It's not how he's making his money. He just likes wine. It's in a region that isn't Napa, so it's a cool wine. It's a cool story. So sometimes stories make a difference, and in here you can find out stories. So it kind of tells you where this is as well. So it's on the Mediterranean Ocean West mainland of Italy. So if you've ever looked at Italy, you need to look at the boot, and then you have the ball that it's kicking. There you go. So the other thing, just to let you guys know, and then you can get out of here. So you go to Test Your Knowledge, there are quizzes, and there's going to be multiple quizzes that are going to be coming on. So every week there's going to be new quizzes. What you guys don't know is all the GMs, we ended up having a meeting the other day. They got to select 10 wines. So there are 8 units, there's 80 wines roughly on our list. So that means in 10 weeks you're going to have information of every single wine on our list. So what's going to happen is every Saturday you guys are going to taste a wine. You're going to go through it grid by grid, how it's actually, what the flavor profile, everything like that. They're going to end up scanning those into us. Walter's going to put them on the website. On the website, then every Monday you're going to have 8 new wines that are going to have all the information of those 8 wines. From that as well, I'm going to start making tests, and from those tests you need to go in and start taking tests on those. So really it's only going to be 8 wines at a time. Yes?
So the test, once you take the test, you gotta check every week and take another test of the lines and stuff?
For 10 weeks, you're going to end up having 10 different tests. And then at the end of 10 weeks, there's going to be a cumulative test. We're still trying to figure out what the prize is going to be for the person who scores the best. But we'll end up we'll have winners. And the idea is that on here as well, there's newsletters and weekly information. So what's also interesting, and you'll have a new one of these pretty soon, I don't know if you guys have it at the units, but there's an allergen info. So one of our units, there was a woman who ended up getting with the chef, and literally, if you click on this, which is really cool, it has the item, so calamari, and all the things that you would have an allergy to. So dairy, gluten, egg, fish, shellfish, those are what the actual allergies are.
That's good.
I just got done talking to her, and she's doing an updated one. This has been like a year old, so the updated one is almost finished. I just went to Chef Jim just for him to give the approval to make sure that they're all correct, and then that'll be on there. So like if you go to the menus as well, so this is where you guys got to help us too, because there will be certain things. So like there's obviously your new crab cake appetizer.
Granchio saporito.
So you'll have all the voices of how you actually say it. If you want to see a full description of it, you just hover and it'll show you, or you click on it, it'll give you the information of what's actually supposed to be in it as well. So you'll also see this sometimes, because if we don't actually have an image, then we have to put an image when we come soon. So really, what would be helpful is if you guys on like a Saturday, because you guys should be having Saturday lineups that have that information, is that one day you say, hey, and talk to obviously whoever your GM is, say, hey, could we do this? And literally kind of go through it and start writing them down and sending us information, hey, we still need it. So like, for instance, that picture, we're not going to be able to get that picture, but then we can start sending it to the right people. So at the end of the day, we need your guys' involvement on it as well to make this site even better. Because it has all the information you guys need, but without you guys using it or telling us what needs to be fixed or coming in with the other exams, it's just going to kind of stay what it is. So this is another really cool area that I don't know if you guys have looked at, but like, so the Wine Bible is one of my favorite books there is. It'll actually download. It's like 1,100 pages. I personally like to use book instead, but at the same point, this does give you that opportunity. So if you wanted to find out about Garganaga, you can go to that section in the book and just read about Garganaga. And then another last little piece that you should look at. What happens in the, okay. So like I was mentioning before, Walter put some of these really cool things on. So this is that periodic table that I was mentioning to you. So we have one of these on our wall at work. And so obviously you can zoom in on that. It shows like the varietal. It tells you kind of what the style of the actual varietal itself. Will this allow me to zoom in?
You see that plus sign at the bottom? Hover back at the bottom. See the plus sign?
So it's still kind of hard to read, but you still can see the idea. It's also from DeLong. You can actually go onto the website. You can see from that what it is. But it's going to just at least help you understand what the varietals are and how they're structured. Famigina, which we don't have on our list anymore, but Chardonnay, how it is, how it sets up, talks about the color profile too as well. So
What is the website again?
it's jvrgtraining.com. So it should just be your first and last name no spacing, no capitals, and then it's a password. So there's no way, unless we just got the wrong spelling of your name, there's no way you can't get on. So when people say, oh, I can't get on, BS.
Are we able to change the password?
Yes, when you log in for the first time, it should direct you to like your account page. But even, can you go back to the actual tab there? So if you want to change your password, you can close that one that you're in right now. And then go to the top, and under the resources tab, you can go to account, change everything from there.
Oh.
Now, one thing I would say is this is, unless you're afraid that somebody's trying to hack your stuff, I mean, there's really no reason to change it, because then you'll start saying, oh, I forgot what my password is, I can't get on.
I mean, someone hops in there, you know, maybe they get fired or whatever, they hop in there and start taking tests. I mean, I'm sure it would be easy to show that it's some bull crap.
I'm gonna sound
Right.
Well, and so yeah, that is true. Well, thank you again. It was a pleasure talking with you guys, and like I said, it's just do the best you can. I guess that's the way I look at it. And don't be afraid of wine. Wine's pretty simple. It's just like anything else. I mean, you can learn anything. So obviously, if you don't eat steak or you've never had seafood, you still sell tons of it. Wine's the exact same way. You guys know as well as I do, some of your bartenders are really busy. It can take you a long time to get your cocktails. To me, how many cocktails does it take to actually equal a bottle of even Worthy? What's Worthy cost? Like $80? $70? So that means that what? 6 cocktails?
Yeah.
5 cocktails?
Yeah.
I mean, so just put it in that light. And the other thing is too is how long does it take for them to grab you a bottle of wine as opposed to how long does it take to get their cocktails? So they're just little things like that, but it makes a big difference. So, well, have a great evening. We'll see you.